What's up, everybody? We've got a bad case of the bends. Maybe it's a good case of the bends. We're bending this wood, man. One layer at a time. It's just, you want to be meticulous here. I don't want to see any, I've obviously got a lot of fasteners in here, but I don't think I'm going to apply an appearance board to the, or like a fascia to any of this rim joist. I hadn't planned on it. I'd have to get that to do this bend as well, and it just goes on and on. So I would like the last layer to look really nice. Part of that is scarfing it in, putting a 45 on that's 3/8 of an inch deep here, so that the last piece, and its length is so perfect that it, dies into that. It has a back angle on it too. That's the nature of a scarf. And same on this rim joist over here. So I have yet to decide whether or not I'm going to be able to accomplish that. Right now we did 4 layers last night, left it over till midday today. I added 2 more layers today. Ultimately all 6 of these layers on this side are going to be cut back to this notch in the post, and then we're going to leave 3/4 of an inch on the rim joist and take a pocket 3/4 of an inch deep out to a certain extent. I wanted to wait on that just because there's so many moving parts here. Next thing you know, you've taken too much and you can remake the rim joist or something else. Now this is the one full-length piece that's done the bend so far, and I can, now I get a sense of what kind of a pocket depth I need to do. I'm going to give myself plenty of room. I probably only take 18-20 inches or something. Now the more of that I get, the more protection and more strength on the cantilever out here that I have, like I was talking about before. Just a lot of moving pieces. The clamps are doing okay. I can sneak them underneath, there's enough room underneath here. But these quick grips they have their uses. It's probably one of the first things people are gonna say. I realize I could have a bunch of Bessie clamps or otherwise, Acme thread or C clamps or something, but I don't know, it's just another big investment. I have a lot of these. I like that they have a big footprint. I don't like to point load and crush marks into my wood if I can help it, which those other clamps have a smaller footprint. I have a couple big bar clamps, whatever. Things that I have, things that I don't have. I will be removing these. These are just, I'm clamping these, with the through locks right now in the most important locations: the start, the finish, and right in the middle. One of these layers we made out of 2 short pieces, so there's a seam there, and he's going to be in the middle. But because of those 2 tails, we were getting a little bit of a point in the next layer, so I put the kibosh on that and just squeezed the living shit out of it with 3 of those through locks. Otherwise, I have been, like I was talking about, all these penetrations are coming through from the back, and I've been, backing those screws up until they're flush, adding a layer with glue, clamping it all up, and then screwing into it from behind to incorporate it into the stack up. And then if I bury the screws, it kind of pulls down tightly. The clamping has been, a variation of through locks, framing screws, clamping, actual clamps, and just massaging it all out so that ultimately everything is tight and there aren't big gaps anywhere. So I'm going to leave this to dry again, long story short. Took the corner braces out of this ledger for the cast iron, and he's got 1, 2, 3 headlock screws. Where are they? 1, 2, 3 all the way around. These are really nice, and they're 2 5/8 or whatever, 2 3/8, whatever they are, for 2 layers of dimensional lumber. Over here I had to head off these floor joists with a pair, and then I had to have room for the tab for the joist hanger itself, so I gave myself 1.5 inches. I just stuck a piece of 2x4 in there for now, but I will just be sliding a piece of treated 2x4 in. I'll leave it short because I don't want to fight with trying to smash past the heads of those screws or anything. I'll leave it short 1 inch or something on both ends, and then I'll use through locks, right through this, through that, through this pair, and out the other side, and just maybe 2 of them, just sort of 1 here and 1 there or something. I mean, it's wildly more than necessary, but just like to be, if anything, more robust. And I took the corner braces out because we're sure that it's square now, because they stayed until everything else was put together around them, which is important because I don't want to put the cast iron on when I'm through and find out this opening has been racked, because the cast iron is the cast iron and it's square, and we're not going to change that. And I don't need to be, I'm going to put that back in there as soon as possible. I kind of had it out to reach around, give a reach around to these double joist hangers. Yeah. And then tomorrow, I hopefully get to another 2 layers, be really satisfied with the outer layer, maybe clamp this up again, but at that time, all the other screws and stuff will be in permanently, and I can I'll pull like a string down the whole side of the far joist and then right over to here to put my layout. That's how I'll use, you know, the string to my advantage until I'm aligned perfectly, and I'll snap it, chuck line or whatever on here to get my layout line. And then I'll put an angle on it that's close to what's necessary, and then I've got angled joist hangers to catch the ends of those that you'll see. I'm sure it's nothing you haven't seen before. I really don't know who watches this channel. Shit. Appreciate. Much love to all of you. Half of my stringers have been made, the other half are there waiting. This is as far as I got using a pattern cutting router bit, and you know, I think we saw this before. The other one showed up this morning or late last night. It's just a Freud. It's 2-inch cut depth, 1/2-inch diameter, 1/2-inch shank following. I mean, it's like 30 bucks or something, so like again, 60 bucks for 2 following bits. Saves me all the time cutting it with the circular saw and the jiggy. So that's how I wanted to do it this time. Then we'll fill those in. Now this is longer than 20 feet, but I just want to do pairs of 20-foot deck boards as stairs, and so I think we'll leave a little alcove at the front so that, you know, it's 20 feet worth of stringers, and then we'll stop, and the 20-foot deck boards will do up the step. The other thing about that is this deck itself is 1 step up, and so if the end of the stairs came over here, you have people trying to step onto the second step from the edge. It really isn't. It's just nice to see that 1 level step all the way around. So you firstly take that 1 step, and then you step to, you know, step number 2 or whatever. It's just more polished. Gives you a place to put plants and things like that. The one thing that does happen here is at a certain point, and I have to find out what joist bay we would stop at to be able to use full 20s. Because obviously you don't need a piece of stairs that goes right up into a post or is too much to the one side that sort of is enticing. I mean, unless you plan on using, you know, plants and stuff like that, potted plants, using it as risers, then you really do have to go around the corner. There's just lots of things here that we're going to bounce off the customer before we make the final decision. Worst case scenario, go right back to full steps from one end to the other, which is what she planned on, it's what she wanted, and it was what was designed. And I made that face because I'm stumbling over my words, but the point is, I would have to scarf every step. And I'd probably make them out of 12s. I think 24 will get us here. So pairs of 12s, so 4 12s per step with a scarf in the middle. The problem with scarfing any of this is that it's wet, and it's going to shrink, you know, a few percents, maybe 5, as it dries up over the first year. So all the scarves, you can't smash them together any tighter, you know, than completely touching. And when they both shrink a certain bit, you pull a gap. So I almost want to put everything together with tight scarves but few fasteners, and then when I come back next year to look at maybe staining this and stuff for her, pull those few fasteners, shut the scarf all the way, and then fully fasten the whole board down. And the same goes for the trap door hatch over the air conditioner. I want to use scarf joints in the deck boards there, so the trapdoor sits down in and basically the scarves just disappear and you don't know that there's a trapdoor there. Just a lot of fine details that take time to accomplish, but man, am I whipped. I'm going to maybe do a siesta and come back and work a couple hours this evening. And what would I do? I would, I guess, blow all the dirt off the tops of these. I'm gonna put a bead of that sealant, that polyurethane flashing, liquid flashing, in all of these cracks on the tops of all of our pairs and smooth that out. And then we'll pull the flashing tape on all of this joinery, or on tops of all of the framing. Oh, and I may come back and make the rest of the stringers, I guess. I'd like to put one deck board on right where the stringers end, and then I can set them in place and just bump into it all the way down and know that basically it'll be a perfect fit. Whereas I could put all the stringers in and do my best to do that to like a chalk line, and then come and start with boards later and work my way across, and when the board comes over to touch the edge of this grill, you know, because as you look down this beam, it does a very subtle little thing, and so that stuff can show up in the worst place. It's going to be tight here between the grate and the face of the stairs. You know, you don't want to show yourself at an angle or be askewed over those long theoretically parallel things. So, you know, what do you do now so that it's not a head scratcher or time to undo and redo, you know, deck board layout later? This is where we spend all of our time. So when it comes time to do finish work, it just goes and we're done. But here's where we at. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I think you're right, little Dash. Let's go take a cold shower and get something to eat and lay down for an hour and then come back when it's cool. That's one of the benefits of working for yourself. We'll see you.